tell mommy what's going on. And he said, I can't because she's an English speaking person. My heart completely shattered because I felt like, or sometimes I'll be upset, like, why aren't they trying to speak English more? And yeah, we learned a lot from the show, but it's gonna take a long time to make this situation improve.
반갑습니다. 네.
Oh my god.
안녕하세요. 캐나다에서 3남매 엄마 에밀리입니다.
에밀리. 어우, 반갑습니다.
So Emily, I really enjoyed watching 금쪽같은 내새끼. So where you came out. As a father of two sons, it made me think a lot. So Oh-Eun-Young is a famous doctor who gives advice on how to raise a child, and it was very impressive to see a Canadian come out on her program and receive counseling. In the broadcast, there was a problem between Korean-speaking children and English-speaking mother. So what problems did you have?
Well, we always struggle with communication because my children are speaking Korean. If I speak to them in English, they'll respond in Korean. And my Korean skill is limited. Now my kids are all better than I am at Korean, so we often will 부딪혀 a little bit because we'll have like misunderstandings in our house. So that's probably our main problem in our household even now. Today.
So is there any episode because of the language barrier between you and your kids?
Yeah, sure. It happens almost daily. We'll have, for example, if my kids, I have 3 kids, so if they're whining and if one is crying, one is whining, one needs help, and it just gets really noisy, and then they're all speaking Korean, and my brain kind of gets overwhelmed because I really want to help them all. I want to be, really dialed into what's going on with my kids, but because they're all speaking in Korean, I just get overwhelmed, and I might be like, okay, stop, that's enough, or speak English, please, and then they get upset because they want to please me, they want to speak English, but they can't quite do it as naturally as they can in Korean. So we will often have episodes like that, especially lately with my son, because now he's at an age where he's starting to have his own emotions a lot more, and he wants to be able to explain things to me. And even last night this happened where he wanted to explain something, and my husband was also right there. So my husband said, tell mommy what's going on. And he said, I can't because she's an English speaking person. My heart completely shattered because I felt like my kids can't come talk to me the way that they should be able to. And I feel like it's my fault because I should be able to just speak Korean. Or sometimes I'll be upset, like, why aren't they trying to speak English more? And yeah, we learned a lot from the show, but it's gonna take a long time to make this situation improve.
It would be really important for a mother to communicate with your child in an emotional way. Then I feel like when they were really, really young, like infant period of babies, did you talk to them in Korean or did you talk to them in English?
I talked to them in English. And actually with Isla, she was with me only until like the first year, and then we sent her to 어린이집 because I needed to go back to work. And then not too long after that, I got pregnant with River, and then he was only 4.5 months old when we had to put him in the 어린이집 because my job at the time was an English teacher, so my job and our home were connected to one another. So if I didn't go back to work, we would have lost our house. So I had to send him really early. So River got the shortest amount of time with me, meaning he, from 4.5 months, he was hearing Korean all day long. So even though I spoke Korean to my kids as little babies, they, the moment they go into the 어린이집, it's Korean. And then that's what they're going to speak after that. So
yeah, but I feel like since you keep talking to them in English, they were able to naturally pick up the language English. Probably they can understand most of things that you're saying.
For sure they can. They understand English. They just don't speak it. So the problem just comes when they're emotional and they're trying to tell me something. So maybe they're like crying and they're speaking Korean at the same time. So a child that's like, that you can't understand, like even my husband can't understand what they're saying. So that's when the real problems begin, is when they're having an emotional moment and they can't speak Korean clearly enough for me to sort of pick up. But the main problem really is nuance, right? With language, there's so many nuances that, and this was talked about on the show. The doctor was talking about this.
Yeah, and then the doctor all recommended or gave you prescriptions, 3 things, and I researched. The first one is, first of all, please sympathize with your mother who lives in an unfamiliar country. So, has there been any change in the family's understanding of Emily since the broadcast?
I think so. I think my kids definitely understand it. Even my husband's getting a little bit better about understanding it. I think he gets a little bit tired of like always being reminded that I'm sacrificing so much to be here, because he feels guilty. I think he probably feels like he kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but maybe he's like destroyed my life or something, which is not the case. But maybe he feels responsible for me having to live in kind of a really hard situation. Anyway, he's been a lot better with understanding that, and also he always tells my kids now, like, you gotta try to speak English to mommy, like, and remember, mommy's, it's hard for mommy because she's not from here. So my kids for sure are a lot more understanding now as well.
Yeah. So like the thing that you're living here in Korea, not in your born, like being born and raised country. So you're kind of sacrificing for your family. But as I watched the TV show, your husband was so nice too, and like he cried, things like that. But then he gets like more nicer than previously after the TV show. Then
He's a really good person. He's super 착해요. He's obviously got a lot of stress in his life too, because being the head of a household with this many children and a wife who's foreign, so he ends up having to take on a lot of really burdensome tasks. For example, like all the government stuff with our family, he has to do all of it. All of our financial stuff, he has to keep that all organized. So I think he's got a great deal of stress, but after the show and recently too, our relationship has been improving a lot too, because we're both trying to just be a little more understanding and forgiving that we are in this almost impossible seeming situation, and we just want to make the best of it and, you know, be happy.
And then the second kind of recommendation from the Dr. O, she said the whole family should study the language, and first of all, Emily should study Korean with a textbook for the first grade of elementary school.
Right.
So 1년간 한국어 많이 늘었어요?
I think so. 늘었어요. 확실히 늘었어요. Because actually I've been studying a lot with my nail studies, and that's all in Korean. So absolutely, my husband said it recently too. He said, you're getting a lot better. So, and just being a little more confident with speaking it too is great. But the kids studying English, I do teach my daughter, my first daughter, and my nephew. I teach them once a week together. We have just a short lesson. And then Isla recently has been trying a lot more to speak English. My husband, has he been studying? No, he has not. I see you, and I'm waiting. But yeah, he often will watch like YouTube channels and stuff like that. So he's kind of passively studying. Does he sit down at a table and study with a book? No, but you know, to be fair, that's not his personality anyway. The one really cool thing about him is that he retains information really well. So if he learns a new word, he'll remember it. Whereas me, when I learn a Korean word, I'm gonna have to hear it like 수백 번 before I'm actually gonna keep it in there and be able to fully use it in my daily life.
Yeah. Father and 3 children need to learn English,
Yes,
but as you mentioned, your husband, because he has a lot of work to do, so he is trying to study English from the YouTube and pick up the words from you. But how about your children? Do they go to 학원 or something?
No, 3 kids. 학원비. So expensive. If I had a lot of money, believe me, those kids would be going to like an English kindergarten if I had that money. But It's too expensive. So I'm hoping like in the next few years I'll be able to get to a point where I can send them all to English schools, like for hagwons I mean, but at this time no, it's more just kind of 자연스럽게 and also like I'm demanding it more from them. So they'll come to me with something and I just look at them and I go, I really, really want to know what you think and what you feel right now. But because you're speaking Korean, I'm not getting it. And I'm sorry, that's not your fault, but I need you to try to say it in English. So trying to do it that way actually has been working. I'm just kind of refusing to deal with whatever it is that they want me to deal with until they say it in English, or at least try to get some English words out. So I think that's been quite effective actually.
Okay, and do you also read them English books or something like that?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. We
And-
definitely do that.
And show them like English YouTube videos.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like because kids love their TV. So I'll be like, okay, you can watch TV for 30 minutes, but it has to be English. You need to watch English. And we recently got a new family car, which is like, it has a TV in the back. So I'll be like, okay, you can watch TV right now, but it has to be English. It's always, so wherever we go, I'm always trying to infuse English into their daily lives as much as I can.
And then Dr. O's last prescription was like that effect. Like father has to be like even more closer to their children and then try to show them that is learning about Canadian cultures and showing them his effort of this. So like, is he doing that?
That's one thing about my husband. He's always been really appreciative of other cultures, especially mine. So even though Dr. O had prescribed that to us, that was something he was already really doing a good job at. I think living in Korea, he always kind of feels like, well, you have to be better at Korean because that's where we live. And it's just like a 당연한 것 that you're going to be better at Korean because we live here. So I think, but yeah, for sure, my culture, he's always been very respectful towards my culture. And anytime that I put like something that's, maybe like a Canadian style food or something, if I put that in front of him, he always will be like, wow, this is great. Even if it's lip service, he still does it for the sake of the kids. So he's always been good at that part.
That's good. That's good. And then the last question, what I was impressed by watching the TV show, and you said in Canada we don't give kids sugars until they became like 5 years old. It's like that. Is that the truth?
Well, okay, so usually what'll happen, like during my generation, my mom tried to avoid sugar as much as she could until 5 years old. But there is also this kind of cultural tradition where the child's first birthday, like the dorjanji, when we do the dorjanji, we give a cake and the kid can just smash the cake and put their face in it, and and then we take pictures. It's like a big event. So that's really their first sugar. It would be then. Like when they turn 1, but after that, the mom will go again and try to avoid it. And I think for the past maybe 10 years, Canadians have been a lot more concerned about sugar intake. So I was like really, really strict for the longest time. And then after Ruby came, my third baby, I kind of just tried to loosen up a little bit because I heard that if you limit it too much, that they're gonna rebel and they're gonna really want it even more. So I'm trying to be a little more free with the sugar thing, but it's hard because I'm obsessed with having their teeth clean. Other kids have cavities, my kids have no cavities. Keep it that way, I need wood. Yeah.
Wow. That's good, sir. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm also really happy to see you and your family, even your husband came here to drop you off, and he's waiting outside, and I'm really, really glad to see your happy family.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be able to come.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
And can you say 구독, 좋아요?
구독, 좋아요.
Thank you.
괜찮아요?
Yes, good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. 감사합니다.